Hello and welcome to episode number. I took the episode numbers off TV, haven't I, Andy? You just complained about that.
What have you done?
72.
But why have you taken the numbers off? I can't count.
Just we have to go through 70 files because we haven't deleted all the other previous things to get to it. I was like, let's just get rid of the numbers. We're the only podcast that has the numbers. Do you know that in the intro thing?
And was I consulted?
No.
Okay.
But you weren't consulted on half the stuff in here, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
I'm not complaining, mate. I'm just asking, was I consulted?
How are you? This is not mood. How are you?
I'm great, my friend. Great. No, I'm not. Silly week again.
Silly week again. Oh, we have coffee coming in. 2 seconds while we get coffee. There we go. We've got coffee, as if by magic. Thank you, Adam, who's leaving the room. There we go. Right. We have a guest today. Delighted to be joined. And I will say, there is a point where I have to run out the room. I'm so sorry. I have to get...
Bye.
Not yet. Oh. I know you can up. So, what's your name and where do you come from?
My name is Ethan Thoburn. I'm the Managing Director at Careers Plus Ltd. We're a niche IT recruitment agency based out in Newcastle.
Niche IT recruit. Explain niche. I like that.
So, with the niche side of it, it's more to do with the technologies that we work with and the customers that we work with. So we aren't a generalist IT recruitment company. So it's quite specific in terms of the technologies and customers that we support. So it's software development, cybersecurity, DevOps, and cloud, mainly Microsoft Cloud.
I'm excited.
I knew you'd like this.
This is great.
When did you set up? When was it?
2021.
Wow.
Straight out of COVID, eh?
3.5 years, straight after COVID.
Goodness me. And what was the decision to do that, Ethan? Were you already employed elsewhere?
So for me, it really started working in a big corporate recruitment background.
Right, okay.
With sort of 3,000 employees globally. And as everyone else in recruitment fell into it, did not expect when I was growing up that I'm going to be a recruiter and I'm going to run my own business. But weirdly, the way that the business came about is that I used to work in nightlife before I went into recruitment. And
nightlife.
Going out.
Yeah, going out.
I very rarely get to go out anymore. Do you go out? You do go out. You actually do have. He has quite the social life, actually.
I'm out tomorrow, actually.
You're out tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll discuss that. Yeah,
okay.
out.
Right, well, come on.
So, worked in nightlife and without any intention got to know two chaps that ran multiple businesses, not only here in the Northeast, but globally, out in America, out in Dubai. And when the World Cup in 2020 was postponed and they did fan parks and stuff when it later on in the year, I kept on bumping into them over and over. And it was more of a sort of drunken conversation almost.
I love you.
All the best businesses start like that.
Exactly. So it was more of a drunken conversation. And I think almost me saying that I was ready to take a step. And they were very sort of on board with that of, we will back you, we will invest in you. If you say you're as good as you are, then come and prove it to us. We'll take away the financial risk for you for the first 3 months. So that was September 2021. You've got till Christmas to prove us right, essentially. Luckily, it went well. And we're still here today, 3.5 years.
You'll back me for 3 months.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah.
How did that feel? Was it like that?
It was. It felt like a dogfight every single day because it was just myself. It wasn't a case of, you're going to come in and here's a team and here's this and here's that. Obviously, leaving my old company in the corporate world, you're signing NDAs, you've got no customers.
No,
so day one, walking into my own office, my own company, was nothing. There's no clients, there's nothing happening. It was straight on the phones. How can I generate business quickly?
Please.
I always refer back to my first day in my business. So I was being made redundant. I was being made redundant. My job then finished. I'd been doing stuff in the background. And I opened my laptop at the kitchen table and I was like, I need to find someone to pay me. Yeah. It was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I bet that sounds very similar in terms of...
That was so similar. And I think that was the main driver behind it. And it almost put me outside of my comfort zone because I'd been so comfortable with a nice sort of deck of clients working in corporate recruitment. It was almost the polar opposite of that. You go, you've got nothing, you're starting fresh. But if you want this to work, you're the only person who can make this work. Equally the only person who can mess it up.
Let me ask you a very interesting question, because when I first set Resilient up, definitely out of comfort zone, and now I embrace out of comfort.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me to do something and I don't know how to do it, I grab it and go, I'm going to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
I do feel that, I've said yes to this and I've no idea, but I thrive on it.
Yeah. And I would say very, very similar. So although the business is 3.5 years old now and we've got a small team, I am still very much in the trenches, so to speak, with the team on a day-to-day basis. I enjoy having the pressure of a revenue target on my head and almost leading the team from the front.
Yeah.
And I'm still there to generate new business. I'm still there to bring in new clients and still there to build. So I enjoy the fact of still being very much the front of the business and still helping out.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
So I've got a question. Obviously, I'm looking at your website.
Yeah.
Lots of different things on there. So cyber, DevOps, I know you touched on these, infrastructure, cloud, web development, software development. I'm sure there's loads of other bits like, turning it on and off again. Handy, that's like you.
That's it. That's my job ruined now. Thanks, Ethan.
So obviously there's all that, but did you start in a particular area?
Yes.
Or was it a case of, I found this person who works in this area, I need to find them a job?
No, so for me, I learned, I'm probably approaching sort of 7-8 years now in recruitment. I kind of was drawn towards early days managed services providers.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is I realised quite quickly that MSPs had a sales team or some form of sales function. Their job was to generate new customers. New customers generated projects, more IT support, more business. So there was almost a constant stream of jobs coming in from MSP. So my idea was, and I used to work in London in Southeast Market. Yeah. So there's hundreds upon thousands of managed services providers down there. And I actually had a map by my desk in the office, a physical map. And I had pins, really, really old fashioned. And I pinned every single business.
The IT guy using maps and pins. He's also got a notepad on the table today. I like it. I've already noticed that. I like it.
Yeah, so that was my go-to. So as you can imagine, day one of Careers Plus, my go-to was, right, which MSPs have I not touched or did I not get anywhere with? And those were the ones that I went after. It's almost a safety net for me because I understand how a managed service provider works to an extent. Don't ask me loads of questions.
I think that is brilliant because at least when you speak to these MSPs and they begin to talk to you about their recruitment, it must be wonderful for them to go, you've got it, haven't you?
Yeah.
And they just go, oh, thank God for that. Can you just find me this person? And you know exactly what they're after.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, a lot of MSPs are different in their own individual ways, but the setups are similar in terms of a service desk into a sort of project engineering team, into IT management, into sales teams, etc. So that was the way that my brain took to IT because I never really had an interest in IT growing up. I did it at A level, but then I went off to university to go and do sports science.
Hey, I did sports science.
So for me...
If you do sports science, you set up businesses. I think that's the...
Or in Cameron's case, you don't do sports science and you break your foot.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Colleague over there.
Our colleague.
I wonder when you were going to drop that. I've been there, told you. Kids.
But how did you do the breaking of the foot?
Kicked a bed. Not deliberately. No, I was getting dressed and I turned. I was staying at my mate's house down south.
Yeah.
And his bed had this weird little leg thing sticking out like this.
Hilarious.
And I caught my toes on it.
Oh, God.
Goodness me.
Yeah. I had to get my wife to put one of my toes back in.
You could have lied.
She's the physiotherapist.
You could have lied and said, yeah, I did it rock climbing.
No, I kicked a bed.
Yeah, something cooler.
What did you do?
Played football.
Played football. See, that is a much better story.
Absolutely.
I kicked a bed, getting changed after having a shower.
So this was completely sober as well?
Yeah. This was in the morning. We're all going out for a day out. In fact, I was about to drive home, and then I kicked the bed.
Wow.
Broke part of my foot.
Well,
and I had to be in the moon. But so I didn't have to drive home.
Hobbling on.
Thank God.
Hobbling on, yeah.
Hobbling on.
Right, DevOps, what does that mean?
So development in operations. So a lot of the teams that we work with where we are looking at DevOps comes from a software development background. So a few of them, a software development company that we work with, they essentially build games and applications for the gambling sector.
Right.
And they have a DevOps function in order for someone to essentially build and work on their platforms. Obviously, you've got the development team who are building the back end and front end of the applications, but then the DevOps engineers who are coming in to maintain and improve the platform constantly for them. So I would say in terms of DevOps, we've touched upon it. We've worked roles in it. Our main is cloud infrastructure.
Yeah.
Cloud. We haven't done a lot on the cloud, actually.
No,
on this
that'll be next
podcast.
week's episode. It could
There
be
we go.
good.
We're going to have to do. So tell me about the cloud.
So for me, we're very, very heavily Microsoft Azure focused rather than AWS or Oracle. And I think over the last few years, and as we're kind of seeing now with AI, cloud was massively adopted, 2017, 2018 is where I massively started seeing it come into fashion almost.
Yeah.
And again, partnering that with me being new into recruitment around that time, it's something that I picked up quite quickly and understood in terms of people having physical data and servers on premise. And in order to virtualize that and move it to the cloud, that was that process. So I kind of managed to get my brain around that first. And again, with the managed services providers, that was something that they were supporting a lot of customers with. Because going into COVID, everyone hit that panic button of, oh my God, everything is on site, everything is on premise. How on earth do we operate a business and support our customers when everything's here physically? So that was the kind of the way that AI is coming into it right now. That was the sort of go-to topic.
Absolutely,
So it's something that obviously naturally early doors, I jumped on and went, right, if I can learn anything about cloud technology, and if I can work with customers who are adopting cloud, I'm going to win business. I'm going to be able to make money off the back.
Nice. I like the thinking behind that. I like the thinking. Just touching back on DevOps, I've been very fortunate to work in a number of high-profile companies, Northumbrian Water, BT. They were and always have had a DevOps team. And I think just before I left, they were starting to develop like the agile working, you know, the waterfall and things like that.
Methodologies.
Yeah, exactly. So do you work with some companies that now do that, or is it predominantly DevOps?
Predominantly DevOps, but what I still find is even within not only DevOps in terms of a DevOps engineer, but also within software development, that Agile is very, very prominent within that. A lot of companies that we work with will ask for candidates with an understanding of Agile methodologies and being able to work that way.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's interesting. I work with one particular developer and a number of different customers, and we adopt the Agile. They want to see it as it grows and develops and very Agile. Like, can I see this? Can I see this? So we've got, still got the dev environment, the live environment, but we definitely work in a more Agile way. But that's fair. That's one-on-one. You know, he's a single programmer, but that's fine. I can see you more questions bubbling out of your head, leaking out of your brain.
Scour, I'm always tapping away on the iPad during the pod, but obviously I'm looking at your Meet the Team page. So take me through the journey of it's you to tell me who
team we've got now. So going right back to the start, really, obviously I worked on my own for about 5-6 months before I made my first hire. And what I found was actually in 2022, it was really, really difficult to go out there and hire anyone. As a one-man band, being able to not only attract people to the business, but get people to see my vision of the business was so difficult, because I naturally wanted to go after established recruiters who could come in and be self-sufficient within the business and really didn't need their hands held. So I could still focus on not only doing my own work, but growing the business from an MD perspective as well.
Absolutely right.
So that was really hard. And in kind of the trap that I fell into was the fact that anyone who showed interest, I ended up taking them. So I had...
But that's like most businesses, I'd say, doing any projects, whether you're a builder, a plumber, or whatever.
If you take an interest, to me, that's goal number one. You've taken an interest. You've actually, right, fine, come here.
Exactly.
I'm doing this.
So I think my interview process to start with was very, very lenient in the case that, like, there was...
Can you drive? Do you know what a computer is? You're hired. Well done. Welcome on board.
Exactly. You understand you've got to pick up a phone, yes?
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy with that.
So that's kind of the trap that I fell into. But for me, it was never ever a mistake. For me, it was all part of the journey and learning what the business actually needed in order for it to grow and what sort of good heads within the business looked like. So towards the back end of 2022, we end up stripping that 3 employees back down to 1. So it was me plus 1. And going into 2023, one of my investors in the business is now based out in Dubai. And he runs a software development company, a small team of sort of 5 heads out there. And he said, well, why don't you come and give it a try out here? There's only 2 of you. The business is still really young. Why don't you come out here and try and doing it out here? There's a lot of tech opportunities out in Dubai right now. Come and try it. So me and the one employee at the time packed up our lives, moved across to the other side of the world.
Sounds amazing.
That's amazing.
To live out of a hotel for 4 months. And again, wasn't great for the business because as a 25, 26-year-old, I was like, oh my God, I'm in Dubai. This is amazing. So like literally every weekend I was like, what brunch can I go to?
Yeah.
Water sports, this, that, the other. So getting into the sort of working week and trying to develop business in Dubai where there was already a lot of established companies, I almost felt like we were just starting the journey all over again from what I did a year and a half prior to that.
Yes.
So coming home from Dubai, I came across Jack, who you'll see on our Meet the Team. Yeah. And with Jack, I'd been trying to get him for a year.
Right.
I'd literally been on his case for over a year, ringing him, calling him, everything I could do to try and persuade Jack to come and join me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about him, but as a young lad, he just reminded me of myself.
Yeah.
In terms of his persona, the way he conducted himself, I was like, you're the right person. So Jack was the main sort of hire with what I call the founding team.
Lovely.
And Jack was able to bring Cameron on board, who's our business development manager. He's also brought Kieran with him, and he's also suggested the hire of Ryan, who is our remote member of staff based down in Kent. So now we've got a team of 5, including myself, 7, including Calvin and Chris. And I kind of feel that we've got that, as I say, founding team. Everyone is adding to the business, adding value to it.
Yes.
And now we are finally sort of on that path of growth and moving forward with it.
That's really good.
It's hard, isn't it? Building,
Yeah.
building is painful.
Yeah.
Like in terms of you've got to, you can see the goal and you know that you can reach it, but it's not. It's putting the building blocks, or in this case, the staff,
the team,
place.
the staff, and the building blocks,
and then all the stuff that goes with it,
Exactly.
IT, pensions, all that sort of stuff.
Can I just go back to you said your lovely investors give you 3 months.
Yeah.
At the end of that 3 months, obviously, the fact that you're still here must
Yeah.
be the success story. You know, it's like you know when you see these documentaries, will they survive? Well, obviously, otherwise the program's going to end very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So, what was that meeting like? Because obviously, you must have hit the targets.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much a meeting because they've got their own business, which is the TUS group. They very kindly invited me along to their group's Christmas party.
That's very kind.
In the December, and it was again
A
like
drunken-
how the business started, a drunken conversation of, yeah, you're doing great, we absolutely love you, mate, keep going, I'll see you in January.
Okay,
So
then.
it wasn't like a formal sit down contract signed,
The
we're
following
going
morning,
again.
Did they extend the contract? Or was I drinking? Oh my God, I don't know.
So it wasn't this sort of, it never has been with them, this formal process. It's
No.
always just kind of been a gentleman's agreement handshake of, this is what we're doing. We trust you. We believe in you. Go and do it.
Do you know what? I love that because when I first started in my business career, nothing to do with Resilient, I was working at a local plastic moulding injection company. I met my didn't know my boss, and that was the exact same thing. He went, I like the way you work. I like what you're doing. Would you like to come and work for me? It's going to be hard, but I think we can work together. And I was just like, okay then.
Yeah.
Shook my hand, and it was probably the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great, that,
It's
isn't it?
often how it starts, and I think a lot of it, especially in the early days, that's how it kind of needs to be really to build, because you find that you then keep a good relationship with those people.
Yeah.
It's a
Definitely.
you've immediately built a long-term relationship, and we were the client yesterday, weren't we?
We were.
And we were saying best people
Oh, God,
you
yeah.
get for customers.
Yeah.
It's word of mouth. It's when you know somebody or know someone who knows someone. So I suppose with that in mind, how has that been? Because obviously, excuse me. Sorry. With that in mind, how has that been? Because word of mouth referral, always the best form of marketing, right? Nothing can beat it,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter what fancy campaign you're doing, this, that, and the other, but if a friend says you should try these guys or whatever,
Yeah.
that's always the best. So how have you, obviously word of mouth referrals played a part in that, but what has been your strategy in terms of outreach, in terms of reaching new business and customers?
Yeah.
What sort of things have you been looking at?
So in terms of actually bringing clients on board,
Yeah.
So as I kind of said, the immediate knee-jerk reaction for me was to go to what I knew, which was managed services.
Yeah.
It's a sort of sector within that industry almost, and I was like, right, I understand it. If I can go after these and get some quick wins, this is how I'll be able to at least cover the overheads and a little bit of profit for the first couple of months. But from that, it was putting myself out there in terms of local networking events and actually getting out and meeting people face to face. With coming from a nightlife background, although it was horrible for my health as a young man drinking that much, but what it taught me that I was able to actually go out and speak to people face to face, and there wasn't really a fear factor for me.
Correct.
So getting out there and actually speaking to people and building genuine rapport and relationships was the best form of networking for me.
Yeah.
And once I managed to get a small handful of clients and impress them with what I could deliver for them, it was then, can we get a favour from you?
Yeah.
And what does that need to be? Luckily, none of them asked for anything in return, like a reduced fee or anything at all. All of them were happy with the service that I'd went out and provided and said, yeah, of course, we've actually got a few mates we can introduce you to.
Yes.
And from there, that's when I actually started to see the growth of my client base come in with people talking about me. And going, yeah, you know what? He is a genuine person. He just wants to help you.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this before, Ethan. It's like one of those things. I mean, God bless, my company's 20 years old this year.
Yeah.
But I found the whole thing that I found with all of my customers is that absolute transparency and honesty. They know I've got to make a business. They know I've got to make profit.
Yeah.
But if you don't bull them, if you just give them exactly what they want and go, look, you know, I have to make some profit out of this, but this is what I can do for you. And obviously you can understand me looking after somebody's IT, I am the last buck.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, and it does go wrong, I won't tell you the exact details, but I cocked up. I just held my hand up and I went, it's me.
Yeah.
So this is what I've done. This is how I'm going to rectify it, and this is what I'm going to do, i.e. the procedures I'm going to place to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
I had the initial, rah, you, but then, okay, we're all human, Andy. Thank you for your honesty. I understand what you're trying to do. Let's go forward. If I'd have tried to hide it or like that, I just would have ruined my reputation.
Yeah. And no, for sure, I think that's been sort of really important, is actually being a sort of honest and transparent and genuine person behind the business. Is that, like, I'm not afraid to sort of attack those topics head on of those difficult situations and those objections. I'm happy to have a conversation. And the way that I've kind of almost went about my sales approach hasn't been sort of super salesy and in your face.
No.
It has been coming from a genuine place of, I want to help and this is how I'm going to do it. And I think that's been a massive driver behind success within the business.
Yeah,
I think it speaks for itself, because I'm looking through your Instagram and, well, tell me about, you run networking events, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about those, because
that's amazing.
I want to come. Yeah, it looks great. So tell us about that and why you got to that position. Like, why do the way you're doing it?
Yeah, of course. So I think obviously going to networking events and stuff myself, we kind of found that although good, it can become quite cliquey.
Yeah.
In the sense of it's the same people every single week. And like 1 minute you could be speaking to a taxi driver. I'm never going to fill an IT engineer role with you.
No.
Next minute you're speaking to a binman. I'm not going to get a software dev out of you.
No.
So we kind of looked at it and thought, right, well, other companies are running their own networking events. Why can't we? But I don't know any other agencies doing it.
No.
So let that be one of our USPs, that we are a company that runs our own networking events. And we want to obviously get that to a point where people are looking at it going, when's their next one?
Yes.
How do I get an invite?
Yes.
So we ran our first one towards the back end of last year at NQ64 in Newcastle. It's like a old school games and arcades.
I'm just showing the video on your socials now to Andy.
Yeah. And behind that was, inviting some current clients that we wanted to sort of, again, meet with and network with and chat to about what was coming up. But I would say 75% of it was people we'd never spoken to, businesses we'd never worked with. And thank God.
Thank God.
I mean, 5 minutes before when I was stood in that empty bar thinking, is anyone actually going to come in? But they did, and we had sort of, I think, 50, 60 people come to our first event, and that was, amazing. 40 plus different businesses. There were the odd plus one that came, and the resounding feedback we got was, this was amazing, it was different, it wasn't a case of like going and having a coffee and awkwardly networking sometimes. It was, you can grab a drink, grab a cocktail, grab a burger, play some games, and it was so different in that sense that people were so much more relaxed.
Yeah, you're just having a bit of...
And then the
bit of
drunken
fun.
conversations happen.
And then drunken conversations happening, so you can see what I'm trying to build to.
Hey, I
But
can
in
see where you're coming
fairness,
from.
not all focus around that, because your next one was paddle, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
Paddle tennis.
Yeah, yeah.
New court over at Blackwell Meadows, just
We
saying.
need to do that.
I'm playing tonight.
Oh, yeah, nice.
we were supposed to be on tonight.
Man. How we eat, man.
Moon boot over there.
You could have won, though. Dead
Yeah.
easily. 21-0.
So yes, the next one we did a paddle event. Again, just trying to do different
Different? Yeah,
things.
yeah.
It isn't just a coffee morning where you come and there's nothing to it apart from a coffee and you walk around the room and network. Something different where people can come down. There's a little bit of competition behind it. And yeah, as I say, different. So our next one is March the 6th. We're doing a indoor golf event.
Nice.
So it's got 2 huge indoor screens with loads of different courses on, loads of different games of closest to the pin, and you can actually play a full sort of 9 holes if you wanted to. Putting greens, pool tables, dart boards, a bar.
Nice.
Again.
Hang on a minute. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, but in fairness, it's all about the golf in the promotional image that I've seen.
Exactly.
so.
We haven't put any beers or cocktails on the
that one.
actual.
I'm just thinking, our next, when we do a joint customer venture, my friend, I'm just going to go coffee,
Yeah.
water, Jack Daniels.
Yeah, exactly.
Andy, it's 9 o'clock, Jack Daniels.
So yeah, really the story behind the networking events was that it was trying to build our own sort of niche network of businesses that we hadn't got into, and we didn't just want that typical salesy cold call approach and email.
I get that.
We
Ollie.
are trying to be different, and that has been a massive driver. I mean, without giving any names away, Cameron rocked up to someone's office last week with a box full of donuts. They signed the terms in the afternoon. So not trying to give any secrets away to any other agencies out there, but
No.
apparently it works.
Hey, apparently it does work. It does work. I think one of my success ones was I had a guy, it was David Lamb, wasn't it? So Adam introduced me to David Lamb, who runs Orange Sales and Lettings. I'll be honest, I cocked up the time. I said 3 o'clock, or he said 3 o'clock to me. I didn't turn up till 4:30, which I thought, it's a crazy time for that. He was literally walking out the door, and he went, "You're an hour and a half late." And I went, "Oh my God, I'm really sorry."
no.
And he went, "Look, because Adam's referred to you, how long do you need?" I went, "Just give me 15 minutes, please." Ended up giving half an hour, and at the end of it, he went, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God,
You
for
then
that.
rung me in the car going,
Yes.
you never guess what I've just done. Completely messed this up. I was like, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, it was crazy. But you're absolutely right. Because of the transparency, the honesty, he went, "Look, you've had a good reference from Adam. I want to go with you."
Yeah.
He says, "You've made up for your hour and a half lateness."
So important.
It
It's
is.
so
It's
important, so important. And I think the fact that you're going into all of these events, and obviously there's outlay that's associated
gosh,
with
yeah.
this, and I bet you are stood there going, they are going to turn up
I
tonight,
hope
right?
they
They
turn
are
up.
going to be there. But obviously now you've done a couple, you're like,
Yeah.
well,
We
you
know people
everyone's
will come.
turning for the activity. They've got something to do. It's
So
brilliant.
the obviously the games one, and then you've had the paddle one. Was there more people on the paddle one?
So we did, because of the size of the venue, we reduced that size.
Right,
We
okay,
actually dropped that in half, but we had full attendance for what we were allowed to have.
Okay.
Otherwise, we worked it out because paddle, you can play essentially doubles.
Yes.
There was 3 courts, so 12 people would be playing at once. If we invited any more than sort of 20, 25 people,
Yeah,
we were
it's
going to have
just-
so many people stood
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And this wasn't a case of like, because us being there and we want to take part and still be talking to people, it was going to be difficult to essentially have
Yeah, I
that
can see
working.
that.
So we dropped the size and only made it no current clients could come to that one.
Right.
Only new business only. And we had full attendance for that
Oh,
one
that's
as
really
well.
good, though, isn't it? I'm loving the way that you're doing that.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
I
Great
know,
way
I
of doing
really
it,
think-
making it about the other activity. I enjoy networking and make a point of doing it. It's important to go out and meet
Yeah.
people. The problem I have is quite often, the reason why the podcast started is because me and him would have these sort of chats about business or an IT issue or whatever. And we're like, why don't we just sort of record it? Because and make time to have the discussion where it's always like 5 minutes and we'd be stood there then 40 minutes later on still on the stairwell.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So that's why we kind of formalised this, but actually making time. The challenge we have is when we go networking, we almost use it as a chance to catch up. And we're like,
Yes.
we need to not talk to each other.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Separate.
You need to separate and meet other people.
Yeah, no.
But it's. I think networking. My experience was terrible, if I'm being honest. In some instances, not because the organisers, just the way people approached it.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the example I always use is handing me a business card before they've actually said hi or introduced themselves. And it's like, I don't know who you are.
What you
all
doing?
you want to do is give me that card and hope that I ring you.
Yeah.
It's like that you've just turned the whole conversation off, essentially.
Yeah.
So like the fact that you can go and do an activity, and while you're playing paddle.
Yeah.
I don't think you're hitting the ball over going, so do you have any jobs going?
Yeah, exactly.
But
You know,
if you
you're letting
remember
them
what
play and
we
enjoy it.
do from when Resilient was like first couple of years old, we decided to do like the Northeast Expo. And again, in great respect, I was up against some much bigger IT firms. So like yourself, I probably went, what can I do that's different? And what we ended up doing is we ended up getting some cuddly dinosaurs.
I've got one on my desk.
I took my VR, and the big slogan was, "Are you an IT dinosaur?"
Yeah.
And you took the VR, and it was the Oculus Quest, probably one of the first ones around.
Yeah.
And I said to people, "Do you want to do a little demo of a dinosaur?" And I probably had the most people crowded around me.
That is
And I
awesome.
know that the other IT companies were like,
Yeah.
well, look at him. Now, I always take the VR because and I do not want to sound as though pompous or anything, but I'm not out there to get new business when I'm dating these. What I'm doing is I'm going resilient systems. I'm giving him some podcast
promoting
material
business,
and some social
yeah.
media material. I'm not out there going, so, if somebody wants to talk to me, I'll happily talk to them and go, yeah,
You're not going to get them signed there and then,
No.
are you, really.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's a
like, do you want a
connection,
good day?
it's been
How's
cool.
it going? And that's one of the things about your business card. If somebody stops, I don't say, can I help you with any IT? I go, how's your day going?
Yeah.
Yeah? What's it like? Are you finding it all okay? Do you need any help finding anything? And that instantly warms them to the natural. They almost feel like, so what do you do? And I went, we just do IT. You run your business, we look after. Look, it's my slogan, ha, ha, ha. But basically, give me your IT. I will promise you I will look after it. And that, to me, seemed such an unusual approach, because otherwise people going, well, I can run your IT. How many people have you got?
Yeah.
Instantly on the sales. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
One-man band, 40 people, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's much different. And God bless Touch Wood, 20 years old, I'm not hunting that new business now.
Yeah.
I'm just getting referral after referral after referral. And I'm
Yeah.
like, do you know
Builds all
what?
the time.
I'm happy with that.
Should do the VR headset actually.
It
So,
sounds cool.
Well, so we've got 360 cameras. We do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I used the VR headset, and then one lad was like, "Do you have Beat Saber?" And I went, "Yeah." So then for the rest of the exhibition, Beat Saber came on, because after he was going frantically, fully suited, sweating, people were lining up to have a go on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So. I'd highly recommend the VR stuff, because it is brilliant and it is good to have fun, and then an element of competition. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're getting through your networking events. isn't it?
100%. It is just that little bit of just being different in
Yeah,
the way
of
that you
course.
can. You turned up, you were different with the VR headset, and that's almost our way of presenting ourselves to the market, that we are different.
Definitely. I can 100% agree
so
with that.
yeah, 100%. You've got to have something like that up your sleeve, and
Yeah,
yours
I
is
think-
so awesome. I'm gonna have to steal it.
No,
No, you need
happily,
to. You
happily,
need to do it.
happily do it. It's
yeah,
really
but
good.
do get them on Beat Saber, do a leaderboard type thing, and
Yeah.
it'll be brilliant to see what they can do. And you can also sync it with a TV so the people can
Well,
watch.
that's what we do when we had more people laughing at the
the
people of
screen.
that. I remember when one of the people had it on, it was the Oculus Quest, and the Tyrannosaurus came Rex. Obviously he's in his own world. And I remember when the dinosaur came towards him, you could sense this person going, and he got lower and lower and lower on the floor, to the point where he let out this almighty scream.
Yeah, that's your social
and
media.
I was just like, I had to hook my, are you okay? And he's like, oh my God, that is the most exhilarating but terrifying thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What was really nice for him is everybody was then coming up to him going, are you all right? And he said, he came back at the end of the day going, I met so many new friends by screaming.
Yeah.
Who'd have knew? And it was like, to me, that was like every single time I'm
That's
bringing the
selling
VR now.
yourself right there, isn't it?
Didn't do anything other than that.
Yeah.
On a social media front, obviously
Yeah.
you're very. What have you found works for you on social media? Out of interest, I always ask this question because
Yeah.
I'm curious, because people think it's you do one post and you have success.
Yeah.
It is done. Like what do you find are the key takeaways if you were talking to anyone in business?
Main one, consistency.
Yeah.
Be consistent with your content when you post it, how many times you post per week, which Cameron is fantastic with, because before Cameron, I was not consistent at all. I was adamant when setting up the LinkedIn page that I wanted to grow that, because again, I looked at other agencies, larger ones, and I was like, oh, they've got 20,000 followers, they've got this, they've got that. But for me, it was like almost presenting ourselves, because when going to a new client or even working with a candidate, they will look at your social
course
media
they will.
pages, your website, your LinkedIn page. We wanted that to look as reputable as possible. But more recently, what we've been doing with it, as I say, the consistency, but with the actual content we're putting out, trying to be as engaging as possible, trending as much as possible with it, so talking about topics that other people are talking about, and trying to get as much engagement back from it. And I think that has massively helped grow the brand as an online presence. I think on LinkedIn, we've got over 21,000 followers now, and Instagram, I think, again, over another 20,000.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's purely from a sort of candidate and client journey perspective. That is part of their journey with us. They will go and check us out. They will look at us. We want to make sure that we've got engaging, nice content on them for them to take a look at.
Yeah.
Because you can go on LinkedIn and it can be so AI generated these days.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of the posts I see, it's just someone's typed
rocket
in
emojis and elevate.
Yeah, the first line of a job description, and then they've whacked it into ChatGPT, and then it's posted on LinkedIn. Or write me a post about X trending topic right now, and they post that. With us, it's trying to build something different and making sure that it's actually quite organic and original is what we're posting, what we're putting out there, partnering that with the networking events. Again, just being different to what else is out there in the market.
The key that you mentioned there for me, Ethan, engagement.
Yeah.
We've had this on a couple of podcasts where you look at somebody's page, oh my God, they've got 1,000 followers, and yet their last post got 1 like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hang on a minute, that doesn't match right.
Yeah.
Obviously, when when Cameron reached out to us, we did, as we're doing now, looked at you do seem to have that engagement.
Yeah.
Every post at least seems to have either a comment or a like or a heart or a whatever. To me, that's most important.
Yeah, 100%. Going back to the networking event, I think once we did the NQ64 one, I think once we posted the video, it got like over 40,000 views.
Well, there you
just on LinkedIn alone. And then the amount of people who then started reaching out off the back of that, who weren't even sort of within our thoughts of, we're going to invite you, or you would be a great business to come down. Not purely because it was a selection process. It was just that these are the ones that we wanted to suggest. The amount of people going, can I come?
Absolutely.
When's the next one? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So
We've had that with the podcast.
Yeah.
That's how yourselves got in touch, right?
Yeah.
Someone goes, oh yeah, we'd love to come on, sort of thing. And we're like, yeah, do it. It's great. And we didn't anticipate that. It was us just, first of all, it was us chuntering on in the office next door. And then I set up the studio. And then, so it's funny how it's build it and they will come. So I was thinking there about the NQ64 event. Loads of people will go there in their leisure time, potentially interested in just doing that as leisure. But if you get to tie that in with work, then it's a bonus, right? So it's like, then if they're on social media, people like and engaging, they then see that. They go, oh, hang on, I could then combine a bit of work with a bit of this. That looks like fun. So actually, I do want to go to that. And it kind of makes sense. But at no point in that video are you like, sign up with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy teams.
Yeah, buy teams is what we use as Andy's example, sort of thing. So it's like, at no point you've necessarily sold. You've just gone, look what a good time we had and look at all this. And it's a really vibrant video in terms of showcasing the event and what it's all about. That generates interest. That gets you more than you just talking.
Well, as you just said, though, there, Adam, I think we've had about 5 people contact me saying, can we come on the podcast? Their first question, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
I'm like, nothing. Why?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, why? What? No, well, surely you charge. No, you are engaging content. You come on there. We give an opportunity for you to sell your business.
Yeah.
And I think I did that the other week, and somebody went, so what do you get out of it? I'm like, well, I chat to you.
Yeah.
And then it's content for my social media.
What they fail to realise is we're talking to each other anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
This was always going to happen.
Yeah. Well, frankly, we're fed up of each other now. No, don't be like that.
No, you're going to be off.
Yeah,
in about 4 minutes.
4 minutes I need to go. But yeah, it's a case of build it and they will come in many respects. And, and that's the thing, when you go back to you starting the business and you're like, right, I need to find somebody. It's constantly working at it and doing it. I think, I've had the comment like, it must be great being your own boss. You get to work when you want. I'm like, I actually get to work all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
in reality, because it is, and this isn't me, Rod, from making a statement, but it is hard to generate and develop, and it takes a lot of hard work to do.
100%.
And you do get people. I had someone texting me 20 past 8 last night about a website. My phone's on Do Not Disturb now. I've put those measures in place, so I don't see that until I then go, right, I'm ready to do the world of work, and here we go. Because I've needed to put those in. But back in the day, I'd have been like, I need to get on to it now. So I had a button that I didn't know about if that makes
Yeah.
no one. So it's like, and I've done it this morning. So I'm like, there you go, job done. Away we are, sort of thing. And it wasn't that anything was missed. It was just not. I was like, oh, you want a button, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. But it's like business owners, they have a tendency to work all the time.
Yeah, we do.
And I actively go. I've got an 8 o'clock shut off. So have you put any rules in place for yourself? So like I've got an 8 o'clock shut off.
Yeah.
Where I do that. Obviously, originally when I was first setting up the business, like, yeah, look at me being my own boss. It was when I was finishing my other job, and I thought, while I'm building my website, I'll just have a beer. This was like in the early day, and then I was like, actually, I probably shouldn't do that because I need to do. So like that went out the window straight. I only had one. I was like, actually, no, I can't do that. I need to separate the headspace. So is there anything you've had to do? Like that?
I think probably very similar to yourself. In the early days, there was no shut off whatsoever, and the sort of network of friends that I had and still have, but they were like, "Oh my God, you run your own business. You must be able to work whenever you want." Blah 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 blah. It definitely wasn't the case. Like I would go to bed thinking about work, so much so to the point of I would be lying there for about an hour, still not fell asleep, and I'm like, I need to get up and do it. I'm not going to be able to go to sleep until I do this.
Correct.
And I think it's only really been over the last year, I would say. So definitely the first 2.5 years was like that. Over the last year, where I've got the same as you, me and my girlfriend, we go to bed early and we get up early.
Yeah.
So I start my day at 4:45 every morning. Oof. Get up at 4:45. I get myself out, go to the gym, come home, and then I go to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's been so important. And because of a normal working day taking place after that, it naturally gets to 8 o'clock and I'm tired.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I'm not giving anyone my best after that time.
No, exactly.
So
you need to shut down. You need to shut your brain down, don't you?
Yeah, my phone also goes on Do Not Disturb at that time. I had an email come through from a client last night for an American client we work with, and they wanted a meeting set up for today. My candidate is based out in France. It was 9:30 in France. I was like, no chance I'm doing this now.
No.
Wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. No, you have to.
You've got
what
to
he's
have
failed
that
to
cut
mention
off.
is his 8 o'clock shut off. His 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, started at 7:30, shut off at 8.
Yeah.
So I am going to have to dash, but I think mental headspace and things like that, as a business owner, you need to make room for it.
100%.
You need to have those things in place. Andy works like a million miles an hour all day, every day. His light is always on in the office when I'm coming into work, and it's always on when I'm leaving work.
Yeah.
Usually it was the other night when I was leaving late.
Yeah.
But then I know that your weekend, you've got it nailed down and planned.
Yeah.
And that's sacrosanct. So it's about setting those boundaries. I'm going to have to dash, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to let Andy finish off with you. It's been a pleasure to meet
Pleasure
you.
to meet you
And
too.
I'm sorry I have to run, but
No
otherwise things go wrong the rest of my day. So
Okay.
thank you for coming in, but I'm going to leave you in Andy's capable hands.
So now that bloody Adam's gone, honestly, part-timer.
See ya!
So one of the things I wanted to come back again, and I'm sorry, I do keep coming back to you investors.
Yeah.
Do they have a real hands-on approach, or are they literally like, you've got it now?
So from the start, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine they did.
Obviously, well, from the start, they were both literally in the office next door to me.
Right, okay.
So it was a case of like 2 or 3 times a day they were coming in, how are you getting on,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And even the sort of 2022 into 2023 period, it was a very hands-on approach. And towards the back end of every month, what's target looking like? Are you going to get there? What's happening? It's only really been over the last year where we've seen that consistent growth of the business.
Of course,
where they've started to take a back seat and go, yeah, you know what? You've got it. You've got it. Don't get me wrong. One of them popped in yesterday and came and sat in the office for half an hour with all of us. But nothing was asked about business. No. It was just, how's life? Did you enjoy the match last night? What's happening at the weekend, lads? So it was more just a conversation. It's pleasing for me because I know I'm kind of doing a good job at that point. They're taking more of a back seat, but I still don't mind it. Like, if they come in, I think I'm very sort of grounded in the sense that I know where I've came from.
Yes.
And without them, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today.
No, exactly. So the respect's there, but obviously
100%.
they're not sat there going, so when's the target? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because that would put undue pressure on you.
Yeah, exactly.
They know, they've got it covered. And that's really good. And I know when I set up Resilient, it was a case of my boss then. I explained to him what I wanted to do. And God bless, he went, right, if I don't see an impact in my work, I will employ you for 6 months. I will give you your time to set up your business and get a running start. And to me, that was the best thing he ever did for me.
Yeah.
Because, within the 4 to 5 months, I went, do you know what? I think I'm going to make this. Thank you so much. Had my leaving due. Off I went.
Yeah.
But that was fantastic that I had that almost background and knowing that I'm like, okay, if it didn't work, sorry, it didn't work. Can I come back to work for you?
Yeah.
Same thing. You had that financial background. It gives you that little boost.
Yeah, it's that little security blanket because I think I had thoughts about setting up a business years before I did it.
Right.
It was purely the fact that I realised the amount of money that the business was generating that I worked in.
Yeah.
I was like, imagine if that was mine.
Yes. That's a lot of interesting things. I get a lot of my friends like, it must be nice to run your own business, be your own boss, and you know what it's like. You're like, no, not really. But at the same time, I know some of my friends who have got great business ideas, I think, well, do it then. Well, my pension, reliability, I've got 2 kids, I've got a mortgage. The key is I keep saying to them, I think you're doing that whole, but what if I fail? I'm going, but what if you fly?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the key. So it does take guts. You obviously had that little security blanket. So did I. So thank God for that. But you suddenly realise, and as I was mentioning earlier, who'd have thought I'd have been 20 years on now? I mean, it's like never in a million years.
I mean, I know mine is so much more junior in comparison to that, but I didn't think even 3 years ago I would be at the stage I am now. I think naturally, when you come from a full-time employment background working for someone else, you're always going to have that niggle in your head of what happens if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
But as you've said there rightly, what happens if this is successful?
Yeah.
And I think for me, my mum and dad were teachers.
All right, nice.
And my oldest brother went into teaching.
Yeah.
Then my next one went into working at university, so education. Then the next one became a teacher.
Right, there's a trend here.
Yeah, and I was like, is this what my life's going to be? Am I? So that's why I went to do sports science, because my interest was sport and football, and I was like, I just train to be a PE teacher maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't mind PE when I was in school.
Yeah.
And then it got to the end of university, I went, no, that's not me.
No.
That is not me. And it was almost sort of breaking that trend in my family. Not it was a bad trend whatsoever.
No, not at all.
They built a very sort of stable environment for our family, but for me, it was like I wanted to take that risk, and none of my friends have done it or anything like that. It was I wanted to at least give it a go.
Yeah.
So if it didn't work, you went, you know what? I tried.
You know what? I can't agree with you more, and that's what I did. I mean, if they all failed, if Resilient fails in the first year, I'll just go out and find another job.
Exactly.
I don't mind. Not that I'd probably knock on my boss's door and go, sorry, made a mistake, but I will go. I've said this to Michelle, my wife, and as I said, I'll end up stacking shelves for something.
Yeah.
I'll just do it. But touch wood, it has managed to grow. And what you were saying, I loved what you were saying about your journey, about getting the other people on board, obviously Cam and stuff like that. And actually, I wanted to ask you that in terms of that. You said you went from yourself to 3, then back down to 1.
Yeah.
There's something that me and Michelle did probably, I would say, about 3 or 4 years ago, where mistakes were being made, and instead of what people would potentially say screaming at the person, what have you done wrong?
Yeah.
We turned around and went, how did we let him make the mistake?
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to do, but, standard operating procedures, more training. What didn't you understand?
Of course.
And even do you understand? Yes. And you didn't really, did you? Well, no, but I was afraid to ask.
Yeah.
What do you do in terms of getting your cameras and your Ryans on board?
So I think the main difference from when we hired initially in the business a couple of years ago to when we hired this time, one, I'd had experience in hiring, so my interview process was less lenient than it was the first time round. It wasn't just a case of they've shown some interest, but also an actual onboarding process and having training materials in place. Although the second time round, I was hiring senior recruiters.
Yes.
Everyone comes from a different form of agency background. The training I've had is completely different to Jack, completely different to Ryan, to you and Cameron.
Right, yeah.
It is so different. So having a proper onboarding process in place with training materials to match that, and a almost support structure of this is how it works, was the main differentiator there to the second round of hires being more successful.
No, but even so, that must allow you to get what's in here into the paper, onto the procedure, and go, okay, this is what I will follow.
Yeah.
And, again, I'm going to guess because of the person that, I've only met you today, but I think the answer to this question is going to be yes. You obviously must be the type of person that I am, where somebody may do a job and I'm going, Okay. Tell me more about that, because I thought this was the right way to do it.
Yeah.
You've shown me a different way.
Yeah.
Let's explore that way.
Yeah, 100%. And as I've said there, everyone comes from a sort of different background in terms of their skills and experience. And I think the great thing that we have within our team is no one sort of gatekeeps any knowledge or process or anything. Everyone is happy to share. So one thing we've started doing this year, and we ran our first one last week, is doing internal training sessions.
Nice.
So Jack ran our first one last week.
Yeah.
And it was purely sort of eye-opening for everyone, because we've all been trained within
Of course.
recruitment,
Yeah.
and we all know it. But Jack did a training session, and every single one of us after went, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
And Jack was like, well, I do this every day. And we were like, right, well, we don't. So then when the next one comes along, it's going to be again, okay, well, we're kind of building that environment internally now of pushing each other and learning and developing together, rather than what it was a couple of years ago when it was just me on my own in the trenches, trying desperately to make it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what's an interesting, the thing that Resilient are doing this year. Let's go back. Cybersecurity, you obviously do stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about it today, and I think I was on a course training about my endpoint detection and response, and the experts, Enable, they were basically saying for any company now, it's not if you get attacked, it's when. He said, because these guys, 24/7, are out there trying to attack and hack you, and. I then, late last year, said, do you know what? My first level of defense is my customers.
Yeah.
So if I spend the time training them, saying, watch out for these links, watch out for that, that to me was a big turnaround. Because suddenly I start getting inundated, quite rightly, is this scam email? Is this like, yes it is. That then dropped off, and now they are more proactive themselves, going, that's a scam email, I'll just delete it. And that's what I'm saying. You're training internally. I've given that to my customers, and I'm going, I've actually seen a better trend. My customers going, but I can spot that now. I can do that now. So it's really interesting.
No, 100%. And as you've said there, it's almost adding that extra layer of protection to it. And it's not a matter of sort of where it's coming, essentially.
Yeah.
So protect yourself against it. And that's in terms of paralleling that to what we do internally, it's that constant improvement and development, so we can be the best possible sort of support extension of someone's business when it comes to hiring.
Yeah.
And it isn't just a case of Ethan's the best man for that particular job, or Jack is, or Cameron is. It is a case of we're all as good as each other, and whoever is working with that client is able to deliver in a way that anyone in the team could deliver for them.
Absolutely. Unless the client plays football, because Cameron would be rubbish at it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, last couple of questions. Do you get one of your, not your end clients as in the big end customers, but a person? Does a person, do you find them that job, and then do you find potentially that doesn't fit, and do you see that person come back and say, can you find me another job now?
Very rarely. So in 3.5 years, I've had one person within the first 3 months leave within their probation period.
That's really good for your point of view.
In terms of that, because I think that the main part of it, and our process within, even at the start, taking a job on, it is so detailed in learning every single ounce of the job, the actual role internally, the team, the way that everything works, the culture. It's so much so if I will always suggest going into a client's office before we start hiring.
Nice.
Because for me, it's what can I look at? What's happening?
What's the dynamics?
Yeah, what's the dynamic in the office? So I know that when I'm doing a Teams call with a candidate, or I go and meet a candidate face to face, or even just picking up the phone, what can I get from them that I can match to that? So it's never just a case of matching someone's skills.
Nice.
Can they technically do the job? I'm like, can I see you being mates with him, and him?
No, you can't. So I wouldn't even put you forward.
Exactly. You are the polar opposite in terms of personalities. You're a good candidate technically, but you're not the perfect fit. So that's really, really important for us when sort of looking at that journey almost for a customer. And then I think our process internally it's quite long and detailed. So it isn't just a case of picking up a phone for 5 minutes and saying, I've found your CV.
Yes.
You've got X, Y, and Z. I'm going to send you to this client. Your interview is going to be next week.
Right, okay.
It is finding out everything about that candidate in terms of their personal life. Why they're looking.
Yeah.
What do their family do? technically, where do they want to get to in terms of skills and development? Are they self-studying? What else are they doing? What's their hobbies, their interests? It's almost building this portfolio for each individual candidate. So by the time we take them and present them to our clients, they're in a position where no matter what they ask us, we know every detail. And we aren't just that sort of CV service agency where you can throw 20, 30 CVs at a job and throw enough at the wall and some of it will stick. It's a case of you're getting 3 profiles from experts within the recruitment sector that we believe are the best fits, and our success rates of doing that are a lot greater than just like blasé throwing some CVs out there and hoping for the best.
No, I can imagine that.
Obviously, with all of that, not only for the client, but the candidate gets a real sort of understanding, not only builds a relationship with us, but builds that relationship from day one with the client. They understand their business, their culture, what they're actually looking for in the role, why they would want to work there in terms of their growth and development. So by the time that candidate actually comes on to starting, they feel like they've already been in the business for a couple of weeks because they know everything about it.
That sounds fantastic. I've got this beautiful picture in my head that, this client is, he's got a jigsaw in front of him and he's like, Ethan, I need to find this missing jigsaw piece.
Yeah.
You're going out there and what it sounds as though you find the perfect person and that person just goes, he's fitted.
Yeah.
He's absolutely fitted into this business and the jigsaw. Thanks, Ethan.
Yeah.
And it sounds as though you're almost like 100% that person is still there to day one.
Oh, 100%. And like even once the candidates signed their contract and they've started, that's not our job done.
No.
We go back to the candidate and client. For the first month, I do a call week 1 on day 1 and end of week 1, then week 2, then week 4. And then I'll do once a month for the first at least sort of 3-4 months with the candidate and client.
Nice.
So they've got a voice outside the business. I think from a candidate perspective, it's super important that they can feel like they can go and talk to someone who they've naturally built a relationship with and go, yeah, you know what, it's going really well, or it's going well, but like, there's this lad that I work with, I'm not really getting on with, and I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
And then it's having someone else outside to make suggestions of, this is how I would do it, and let's talk it through.
Yeah.
So it isn't a case of like, once they're in there, they're alone. They've got a still to come back to. And I think naturally with the sort of tenure of tech professionals, it is what's typically sort of 2 to 3 years that they'll stay with a business as the average. They'll come back to us. Because they'll go, you know what, working with that Careers Plus team, they made it so comfortable for me. They made me so confident with all of their interview prep going into this process. I need them on my side again. I need them in my corner.
Nice. It's lovely to hear. So, what is the plans for your business now? What's the 2-year plan, the 5, the 10?
Yeah, so with us, I think a lot of the first half of this year is improving our technology internally. So we're doing quite a lot of CRM updates, and we want to obviously adapt AI into that and automate some of the stuff that we have. I mean, we already have adapted it with some of the sort of email campaigns and projects that we run internally. But obviously we want that to improve. We want our website to improve. So as the business is growing and doing better, we equally want our technology to keep up with us.
Have to.
I won't go into too much detail about this bit because I want to kind of keep my cards close to my chest. We're building an app that is going to be for candidates.
Nice.
And I feel that I don't know any other company out there that does that. So with the software development team that we've got within the group, there's some really, really exciting plans about building an application from a technical perspective.
Really good.
So I'm looking forward to that. But from a sort of business perspective, we are looking to again hire this year, looking to bring some more heads on board and again sort of branch out our team. That isn't just for senior recruiters, that is also for people looking to even take their first step into recruitment. We are now in that fortunate position where we do have that again founding team in place that we can take that risk almost of bringing in someone who's completely green to recruitment and training them up. We've got the training materials, we've got the onboarding process, we've got the professionals internally in order to do that. So in terms of a short-term plan, technology growth and business growth and adding more heads to that. And then I would like to really adapt over the next sort of 5 to 8 years, really, the process that my investors have done with growing a UK-based team. But I would like to see myself open an office in America. I would like to see myself open an office in Dubai. And bridge out into completely different markets that we haven't touched. So I envision in sort of 8 years' time, I'm going to have 3 offices and 3 global teams. Is
nice
the plan.
To have plan. Hey, absolutely. I can applaud all of those plans. That's really good. Well, listen, that's the hour up, which has been fascinating in terms of what you've done. It's absolutely flowing. Everybody says that. They said, I can't talk for an hour. And then it's an hour's up. I felt as though I followed you in your journey. So thank you for that. It's been absolutely brilliant. And as you know, we always finish off on What's the Weekend. So what are you doing this weekend? Not hobbling like Cameron?
This weekend is going to be family orientated.
Nice.
It's my niece's 3rd birthday tomorrow.
Bless.
So off to a party tomorrow for her. And then on Sunday, it's just been my mum's birthday this week. It's my dad's birthday on Valentine's Day. I'm taking my mum and dad out on Sunday for lunch.
Well, there you go. That's incredibly nice. I'm going out with some friends in Durham, going for a tie, so that'll be really nice. And then Sunday, I'm just going to smash some more Dying Light 2. I'm well into my gaming.
Nice.
So that'll be really good. So Ethan, Cameron, thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you for your time, Ethan. It's been absolutely fantastic. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.